What does it really truly mean to make a place your home? To kind of etch your presence into the landscape, adapt to its rhythms, find its secrets, and doing that, lay the groundwork for a nation's identity.
It's a deep question.
It is, right. And today, we're actually embarking on this really captivating journey. It's a deep dive into the, astonishingly rich and ancient history of early human settlements in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's a narrative that's just woven with these threads of incredible ingenuity, profound adaptation, and these big cultural shifts that really shape the entire island.
Exactly. And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to try and unravel how these ancient people first arrived on this pearl-shaped island.
Right, and how they adapted, often quite ingeniously, to its really diverse environment.
And crucially, how they developed, more and more sophisticated ways of living.
Yeah.
Moving from just basic survival, sort of nomadic existence, to much more complex society.
Mm-hmm. We're going to try and distill the most important insights and maybe some surprising facts, too, from the sources you've provided, hopefully giving you a really fresh perspective.
And we've got some great stuff to work with. We're drawing from these meticulously researched excerpts from a school history textbook.
Okay.
And also the detailed transcript of a pretty fascinating YouTube video.
Right, so a mix of sources.
Yeah, and combined, they give us this really vivid, detailed account of Sri Lanka's earliest inhabitants. It sheds light on their daily lives, their beliefs, and, the big cultural transformations they kicked off across millennia.
So this deep dive, it's basically your shortcut to getting informed about these foundational layers of Sri Lankan history.
That's the idea.
You should gain an insightful, clear narrative, making these complex historical periods hopefully accessible and genuinely engaging.
Yeah, by the end, you'll really see how these ancient footprints laid the groundwork for the modern nation, and maybe even catch a glimpse of the echoes of their resilience today.
So, sounds like a plan. Are you ready to dig into these ancient layers?
Absolutely. Let's start right at the beginning. The very dawn of human presence on the island. Tracing those earliest echoes of ingenuity and survival. We're talking, an astounding 125,000 years ago.
That's the number our sources point to, yes. When the first residing people arrived in Sri Lanka, it's a timescale that, it really does challenge the imagination, doesn't it?
125,000 years. It's incredible.
Right.
What does that kind of deep history even tell us about, early human migrations?
Well, it's profoundly humbling when you think about it. These weren't just brief visitors. Our sources suggest they represent the first real settlements in the country's history.
So a commitment to stay.
Seems like it, a commitment to inhabit the land. And what's really fascinating is the sources mention they arrived from a distant country.
Okay, but not which country?
No, the material doesn't specify exactly where. But even that single detail, it sparks incredible curiosity. It implies a massive journey, some level of navigational skill, perhaps.
Right, you don't just accidentally end up on an island like Sri Lanka 125,000 years ago.
Probably not. It points to that innate human drive to explore, to adapt to new places, maybe far beyond what we usually think of for Stone Age people.
So these were essentially the island's first ancestors.
Yeah.
Laying the absolute groundwork for everything that followed.
That's the picture, yeah.
And their lifestyle back then, it must have been completely dictated by the wild landscape they found.
Absolutely. A life focused primarily on what our sources call hunting and collecting edible resources.
It wasn't casual, was it? It was pure survival.
Driven by sheer daily necessity, every moment probably geared towards finding food, adapting to nature's rhythms, understanding their environment really, really intimately.
That intimacy with nature, that seems key.
It really is. When we look at their daily life and how they sustain themselves in this hunting-gathering era, it reveals a remarkable understanding of their ecosystem. Their diet was incredibly diverse.
Oh yeah? What kind of thing?
Well, it shows not just brute hunting skill, but adaptive intelligence. They hunted larger animals like deer, sure, but also smaller, maybe harder to catch creatures like giant squirrels, tortoises, hares, porcupines, even iguanas and snails.
Snails? Wow. That requires patience, right?
Yeah.
And tracking skill, maybe cooperation.
You'd think so. It points to a pretty sophisticated system of managing resources, even with what we'd consider simple tools.
And it wasn't just meat, though. You mentioned collecting.
That's right. They meticulously supplemented their diet with a whole range of collected plant foods.
Like what?
Our sources specifically mention wild jackfruit, wild plantain, and various kinds of yams.
So they needed serious botanical knowledge.
Exactly, a living encyclopedia of what was edible, where to find it, and critically, when it was in season. This deep connection let them thrive. It was almost a symbiotic relationship with their environment, using its bounty for survival.
Okay, let's talk about their tools and technology. Primitive by our standards, obviously, but effective for them.
Astonishingly effective, really. Ingeniously crafted from what was readily available, they mainly used stone, wood, and animal bones for daily tasks.
Which is why we call it the Stone Age, right?
Precisely. That reliance on stone is the defining characteristic. But it's important to remember these weren't just, random rocks.
No.
They were often deliberately shaped, sharpened implements, crafted for specific tasks like hunting, preparing food, butchering animals, maybe even building basic shelters.
So taking a raw material and making it functional, that's a huge cognitive leap, isn't it? A kind of primitive engineering.
It really is a foundational leap.
It's just a testament to their ingenuity, that ability to observe nature, understand its properties, and then transform it into something purposeful.
Definitely.
And one detail I found really intriguing in the sources, this lack of trace regarding how they prepared their dresses.
Ah, yes, that little mystery.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Was it the climate, so they wore very little? Or were their materials just completely perishable, like leaves or hides that just didn't last?
Could be either or both. We just don't have the archaeological evidence surviving, but it does make you ponder the sheer cleverness needed just for daily living back then.
And that cleverness, that ingenuity, it extended to their shelter too.
Absolutely. Like their clothing, it reveals how deeply connected they were to their immediate surroundings. They didn't build permanent homes in this early period.
So what do they do? Caves.
Exactly. They masterfully used natural features. During the rainy season, they'd seek refuge in caves, offered protection from the elements, maybe from predators too.
Makes sense.
Then during the dry season, they'd move outdoors, following animal movements for hunting, getting easier access to seasonal plants for gathering.
So mobility was key. Not just preference, but strategy.
A highly adaptive strategy, yes. Maximizing survival chances by syncing up with the natural cycles of food availability.
And we have a specific example, don't we? The Cthulgula Belilina Cave.
That's the one mentioned, yes. Believed to have been used as a dwelling during this exact era.
You can almost picture it, can't you? Huddled inside during a monsoon, jungle sounds outside, then venturing out when the sun returns. Always moving, always tuned into the land.
It provides a real anchor for imagining their lives, definitely.
But they weren't just about survival, were they? The sources hint at more. Cultural practices, beliefs.
Yes, and this is where it gets really fascinating. It suggests a surprising level of social, maybe even spiritual sophistication. For instance, adornment and art.
Jewelry. Back then.
Apparently so. They wore jewelry not just for practical reasons maybe, but on various occasions, kind of like how we use jewelry today, status, identity, celebration perhaps.
But made from what?
Stone, crafted from readily available materials like stone, yes.
And we have actual examples found.
We do, which is incredible. Stone beads, for instance. That implies painstaking craftsmanship.
Wow.
There's also mention of a necklace made from a shark's tooth found in a cave.
A shark's tooth, imagine getting that. The hunt, the crafting, the symbolism of wearing it.
Exactly. And a pendant made from an oyster shell discovered in Payangala Cave. These aren't just functional items, they're powerful expressions of culture, a desire for beauty, maybe early forms of identity.
That's amazing. And what about their burial practices? That often tells us a lot about beliefs.
It does, and what we know is profoundly fascinating. When a relative died, they interred the bodies in caves, often placing them in a curled or flexed position. Now, that practice alone suggests a ritualistic approach to death.
Symbolic, maybe, a return to the earth, or just practical for space.
Could be any of those. Suggest specific beliefs, but here's where it gets really interesting and connects them to a much broader human story.
Go on.
They applied red color, or red ochre, on some of the bones.
Red ochre, that's significant, isn't it? You find that in ancient sites all over the world.
Exactly. It's believed to be a fundamental part of their funeral rites, sort of like an ancient cemetery practice. Red ochre often symbolized life, blood, transformation in many ancient cultures.
So for these early Sri Lankans, it hints at what? A spiritual connection to the dead. Beliefs about an afterlife.
It strongly suggests that, a profound shared spiritual connection. Maybe ideas about the cyclical nature of existence. It's a powerful glimpse into their inner world.
That use of red ochre is really striking. It shows a deep reverence for their dead, a desire to honor them, maybe help their journey.
It really does. And this brings us to something really crucial, an impartial finding from our sources about the social fabric of this era.
Okay, what's that?
A key observation from this Stone Age period is that these early settlers showed absolutely no evidence of the kind of religious or racial differences that became prominent later.
Like distinctions between Sinhalese, Muslim, or Tamil communities today.
Exactly. Those divisions simply weren't present, according to the evidence from this earliest period.
That's incredibly significant, isn't it?
It really is. It underscores this primordial period of shared existence based purely on survival needs and community bonds.
So the later distinctions, ethnic, religious, linguistic, they came much, much later.
It appears so. It seems it was a time when common humanity, the daily struggle for life, the need for cooperation, that's what bound people together, not these later cultural markers.
It really highlights a foundational layer of shared human experience, almost like a blank slate in a way, before later cultures started building on it.
Well put. A blank slate on which later history would be written.
Okay, so let's move forward in time. Things start to change quite dramatically, right? Around 4,400 years ago? Or 2400 BC.
That's the next major phase, yes. A truly profound shift in human development on the island. This marks the transition away from purely hunting and gathering.
This is where farming comes in.
This is where farming comes in. The oldest people, as our sources put it, began to engage in agriculture. And this wasn't just a minor tweak, it was a fundamental transformation.
How so?
It allowed for more permanent settlements, potentially greater population density, and eventually things like specialized labor. The whole structure of society starts to change.
And where were these early farming communities located?
Our sources indicate they primarily settled in hillside areas, but also in plains and mountainous regions, likely chosen strategically for fertile soil, access to water for irrigation, maybe even natural defenses.
And with this huge shift to farming, I assume we see big changes in technology and daily life too.
An explosion of innovation, really. They weren't just scattering seeds, they were developing systematic methods for cultivating grains. The sources specifically mention rice.
Rice, a staple that's still central to Sri Lankan culture today.
Absolutely, and cultivating rice consistently meant they needed new tools.
Right, for processing the harvest.
Exactly. To process these grains, they developed and used what the sources call pet stones for grinding.
Pet stones, what are those like?
Imagine a larger flat stone as a base, and a smaller rounded stone used on top to crush and pulverize the grains. Think early grinding stones or querns.
Ah, okay. For making flour or gruel.
Precisely. A seemingly humble innovation, but vital for efficiently processing harvests and improving their diet, making grains more digestible.
And then another huge development, pottery.
Yes. They learned the intricate art of making pots and urns out of clay. This wasn't just about making pretty things. It had massive implications.
Storage.
Huge implications for storage. Protecting harvests from pests, moisture, allowing food to last longer. Also for cooking different kinds of food, and crucially for carrying water and other liquids.
Which is essential for settled life.
Yeah.
And maybe even trade down the line.
Absolutely. It's a major leap in domestic technology, directly boosting food security and the stability of their settlements.
But maybe the single most revolutionary discovery of this period was iron?
Iron production.
Yep.
Yes, this was the technological leap that fundamentally changed everything. It propelled them into a new era.
How did they even figure that out? Extracting iron from ore.
They learned how to do it by melting the ore. It's a complex metallurgical process. It requires not just knowing about the right rocks, the geology.
Also incredibly high temperatures, right?
Exactly. Precise control over temperatures often exceeding 1500 degrees Celsius. That implies they built sophisticated kilns or furnaces. This wasn't just luck, it was early industrial science.
Wow. And the impact of mastering iron must have been immediate and profound.
Completely reshaped their society. Iron let them make strong tools, far superior to anything made from stone or bone.
So better farming tools, axes.
Dramatically more efficient farming tools, clearing land, cultivating fields, stronger access for timber, more durable weapons for defense, or maybe even more effective hunting.
So this tech advantage led directly to more efficient work, higher productivity, a massive leap from the Stone Age.
Monumental. It's almost impossible to overstate iron's importance in human development. It literally allowed them to reshape their environment and their future.
It really did. And this mastery of iron, it enabled more robust communities, didn't it? We see changes in settlements and even burial customs again.
That's right. With this tech boost came evolving settlements. They weren't just relying on caves anymore. Their dwellings improved significantly.
What were they like?
Sources describe houses made from clay and wattle.
Wattle and daub. Like woven branches covered in mud.
Exactly. A sturdy construction method. Woven branches plastered with clay, mud, maybe straw. And these homes were often thatched with the durable grasses like illock or manna grass.
That signifies a big step towards more permanent, robust settlements, doesn't it?
No.
A move away from being nomadic.
A clear move towards a more sedentary life. A greater investment in their living spaces, building real communities. These were homes built for stability.
And their burial practices also changed during this time, became more complex.
Evolved significantly, yes, indicating perhaps a deepening of their spiritual beliefs and rituals. They started erecting tombs for their dead relatives.
Tombs, not just burying them in caves.
Erecting tombs in particular places, designated areas, likely functioning as communal cemeteries. It's not just simple burial anymore, it's creating a lasting memorial, a public space for honoring the dead.
And the process itself changed.
The sources detail this fascinating multi-stage process. Bodies were initially buried, but then, later, the bones were exhumed, carefully placed into a clay pot or urn.
An urn, made with their new pottery skills.
Presumably, yes. And then this pot or urn containing the bones was redeposited in a prepared tomb or maybe a cave set aside for this purpose.
Wow, that's quite elaborate.
It is. This gradual progress, as the sources call it, in their funeral rites suggests developing beliefs, a more complex relationship with death and ancestors. Maybe early ancestor worship, or ideas about a multi-stage journey for the soul.
It's a powerful testament to their evolving culture, isn't it? The care and effort involved speaks volumes about their connection to the past, their lineage, maybe their hopes.
Absolutely. And this evolving complexity sets the stage perfectly for the next pivotal, transformative moment in Sri Lankan history.
Which is the arrival of Prince Vijaya.
Exactly. An event that fundamentally reshaped the island's social, cultural, and political landscape. This is where the historical narrative really starts to crystallize, getting closer to the accounts many people associate with Sri Lanka.
So, Prince Vijaya, described in our sources as a great and mighty king, or prince, arriving from India.
Yes, and significantly, he didn't come alone. He arrived with a substantial group, 700 companions. That marks a major migration, an infusion of new people and ideas.
And we have a date for this. A specific year.
Our sources give a precise, historically anchoring date, 544 BC.
544 BC. And they landed where?
At a place called Tambapani, located on the western coast of Sri Lanka, sometimes also referred to as Mahamalwa. This specific location helps ground the story, lets you visualize this big event.
And crucially, when Vijaya and his companions landed, Sri Lanka wasn't empty.
Far from it. It was already a vibrant place home to various groups. Our sources specifically mention the Yaka, Naga, and Diva tribes.
Indigenous societies already there.
Distinct societies, yes, each with their own cultures, territories, maybe their own ways of organizing themselves. The Yaka, for instance, often pop up in ancient texts and folklore as powerful forest dwellers.
Which makes Vijaya's interaction with them, especially with one woman, Kuweni, really significant.
Incredibly significant. Central to the whole story, really. Kuweni belonged to the Yaka tribe, and her narrative is full of intrigue and strategy.
The sources say she was the one who first discovered Vijaya's people after they landed.
That's the account. And what happens next is this strategic alliance that becomes a critical turning point for Vijaya.
He married her.
He married Kuweni, yes. And they had 2 children, Jowahatha and Dasala. But this marriage wasn't just personal, it was a powerful political move.
A way to integrate, gain a foothold?
Exactly. A deliberate act by Vijaya to connect with the existing tribal structure, gain invaluable local knowledge, access to the land and its people.
And Kuweni's role went beyond just being his wife. She helped him gain power.
A crucial role. Our sources explicitly state she provided vital assistance to Vijaya in his efforts to defeat or even, quote, kill all Yaka people.
That's a pretty stark detail. Highlights the brutal realities of power struggles back then.
It does. It underscores the difficult choices, the conflicts involved in establishing dominance. But ultimately, her help, whether intelligence, strategy, direct action, was instrumental. It enabled Vijaya to consolidate power and become the ruler, the first recognized king of Sri Lanka. She was essentially the key to his initial success.
But the story doesn't end there, does it? After securing his rule.
Indeed. Vijaya made another significant political move, one that would shape the lineage of his new kingdom. He strategically decided to leave Kuweni.
Left her and married someone else.
Subsequently married a princess who was brought over from the Pandyan state in India.
Wow, that seems like a betrayal of Kuweni.
From one perspective, yes. But politically, it was shrewd. It solidified his power by creating an alliance with a prominent, established Indian kingdom. It further integrated his new Sri Lankan kingdom into the broader regional picture and opened doors for more cultural influence from the mainland.
And the legacy of Vijaya's arrival goes way beyond just his personal story. His companions, the 700 people who came with him.
They didn't just stay in one place. They spread out, settling in various strategic locations across the country.
So a major expansion of settlements beyond the existing tribal areas.
Exactly. Laying the groundwork for a new demographic and political map of the island.
And do we know where some of these new settlements were?
We have concrete examples mentioned. Upatissa Gama, established by his minister Upatissa, and Anuradha Gama, founded by minister Anuradha.
These sound like organized efforts, not just random settling. Establishing communities, maybe administrative centers.
It's just a methodical approach, yes, under Vijaya's growing influence. And these early places, like Anuradha Gama, would grow into incredibly important centers of power and culture later on.
And maybe the most profound, lasting impact of Vijaya's arrival was the cultural infusion.
Absolutely. His retinue belonged to the Aryan community, and their arrival brought the introduction and widespread prevalence of new customs and formalities from Indian society into Sri Lanka.
So more than just people, it was ideas, practices.
A massive cultural and social transformation. Think about new languages, potentially early forms of Buddhism and Hinduism, new styles of building, maybe new legal ideas, social hierarchies.
It wasn't just an exchange then. It fundamentally reshaped the island's identity.
It really did. It wasn't just about new people or cities. It was about entirely new ways of living, new social structures, new cultural practices taking deep root, blending with and sometimes perhaps overshadowing the existing traditions.
So looking back on this deep dive, it feels like we've covered an incredible span of time today.
A remarkable journey for sure. Tracing those ancient footprints. We started way back in the Stone Age, 125,000 years ago.
With those resilient hunter-gatherers, moving with the seasons, using tools of stone, wood, bone.
Right, learning about their sophisticated diet, their adaptive shelters like caves, and those unique burial rites marked by the mysterious red ochre, hinting at complex spiritual lives.
Then we shifted to that period of profound agricultural innovation, around 4,400 years ago, learning to farm rice, making pottery,
and crucially, mastering iron production. That complex process that led to stronger tools, more efficient work.
And more permanent homes, those wattle and daub structures. A fundamental shift to settled agrarian life, with those evolving, more complex burial customs involving tombs and urns.
Indicating that deeper connection to ancestors, perhaps?
And finally, we reached that transformative moment. Prince Vijaya's arrival in 544 BC.
A pivotal event, introducing that new wave of people and culture from India. We explored his strategic, complex relationship with the indigenous tribes like the Yaka, and Kuweni's crucial role.
Right, and how his arrival led to the expansion of new settlements like Upatissa Gama and Anuradha Gama.
And fundamentally infused the island with new social structures, customs, traditions from Indian society, really setting the stage for the distinct Sri Lankan identity we recognize later on.
It's truly amazing, isn't it, how each leap in technology, each cultural infusion didn't just erase what was before, but built upon it, creating these layers of history.
Layers that contributed to the island's unique identity, its rich heritage. This ancient history is the bedrock of Sri Lanka today, a testament to continuous adaptation and reinvention.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you, our listener, reflect on this incredible journey of human adaptability and ingenuity, maybe consider this.
Okay.
Given the remarkable resilience, the creative problem solving these early settlers showed across tens of thousands of years, what lessons can we maybe draw about our own capacity for perseverance, about the constant evolution of societies facing new challenges?
That's a good question.
And maybe, what other hidden stories of adaptation, of cultural blending, of innovation might still be waiting out there, still buried in the ancient landscapes of Sri Lanka? Stories that could challenge our current understanding of how civilizations are built and just how deep our shared human past really goes.
Powerful thought to end on, isn't it? These deep dives, they really do offer a richer, more nuanced view of our shared past.